Picture this. It's 6 in the morning, pitch black outside. The world is just dead silent. You got to get to work, or maybe you're out on the water and you need to get the boat moving, catch a tide.
Right.
You step out of your front door, or you roll out of your bunk, and you are immediately hit by that physical wall of freezing air.
Ugh, it's that shock to the system. Your breath just clouds up instantly.
Exactly. Your fingers are already going numb, and then you see it. The vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
It's just encased in ice. The windshield is a glacier. The interior is essentially a walk-in freezer.
Yeah.
And, right then that you're about to spend the next 15 minutes shivering, scraping ice with a credit card because you lost the scraper again.
Been there.
And just praying the engine turns over without, complaining.
It's a visceral kind of misery, isn't it? And it's not just your personal discomfort, though. That's bad enough.
It's awful.
That cold start is brutal on the machinery, too. I mean, oil is like molasses at that temperature. Metal shrinks. It's a violent way to wake up a machine.
But here's the thing, and this is why we're here today. It doesn't actually have to be that way. We're looking at a stack of material today that suggests there's a way to completely bypass that morning misery. We're doing a deep dive into the How to Set Timer on Webasto Heater guide.
Right.
It's from a specialist marine and automotive equipment forum.
Which might sound a bit niche at first glance. We don't usually spend our time reading technical manuals for fun.
We do not. But this one, it's special. It's interesting because the source catalog lists everything from heavy anchors to peak deck flooring.
Wow.
But nestled right in there is this very specific, almost desperate guide on mastering the digital scheduler for these Webasto heaters.
Okay.
Our mission today is to move beyond just pressing the on button when you get in. We want to get to the point where you, the listener, understand exactly how to program this thing so you never have to scrape a windshield again.
Yeah, we're talking about automating comfort. But to do that, you have to understand the logic of the machine. It's not always intuitive. You can't just treat it like a simple on-off switch if you want the magic of a pre-warmed cabin. You have to kind of think like the programmer who designed it.
So this applies whether you're in a long-haul truck, an RV, a car, or a boat. Right? The guide seems to imply these units are just everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. The principles of the interface are pretty much identical across those platforms. Whether you're sleeping in a semi-truck cab at a truck stop or waking up on a yacht in a marina, if you have that digital control unit, this deep dive is for you. Okay,
let's get into the hardware first.
Yeah.
Because the source material makes a really, really important distinction right off the bat about which models this actually works for.
Yes.
I think a lot of people might assume I have a heater knob, so I must have a timer.
And that is a dangerous assumption.
Yeah.
It leads to a lot of frustration. The guide specifies we're talking about the airtop and thermotop models, but specifically those with the digital interface.
Break that down for me. What does the non-digital version look like? Because I've seen some that just look like a volume knob.
That's it, exactly. If you're looking at your heater control and it's just a simple rotary dial, what engineers would call a rheostat, you're out of luck for automation.
A rheostat. That sounds like something from a 1950s sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
That's just a fancy word for a variable resistor, right? Like a dimmer switch in a dining room.
Exactly. It's analog. It has no brain. You turn it right for more heat, left for less heat. It's physically controlling the electrical current.
So it doesn't know what time it is?
Doesn't know what time it is, doesn't know what day it is. It only knows more or less. If you have that, you can't schedule a wake-up time because the device has no concept of time.
So for this deep dive, we're assuming you have the screen.
Correct. You need the digital brain. The interface usually has a small LCD screen, a rotary knob that clicks when you turn it, and often a button with a little flame symbol on it.
That flame button seems pretty self-explanatory, but let's clarify it just in case.
That's your instant on button, your manual override. If you're freezing right now and you don't care about schedules or timers, you just press the flame and the heater fires up. It's the panic button for cold people.
Got it. But we're not here for panic. We're here for precision. We want to be time travelers setting up warmth for the future. So walk me through the interface logic. I'm sitting in my freezing car, engine's off, I see the screen, it's blank. What's the first move?
The rotary knob is your primary tool. It's both your mouse and your clicker. You press it once to wake the screen up.
Okay.
Then you turn it to scroll through the icons.
And we're looking for the clock.
Yep. You navigate to the icon that looks like a clock face. That's pretty universal for the scheduling menu. Once you click into that, you're going to see something labeled P1, P2, or P3.
Program slots. Now, stop me here. Why do I need 3 slots? Is that just to confuse people? Why not just have one alarm time, like on my phone?
It's actually designed for different life scenarios, which the source highlights as a major feature. Think about your week. Your schedule isn't flat. You might set P1 for your 7.00 commute on weekdays. That's your work mode. But maybe P2 is set for 5.00 p.m. when you leave the office, so the car is warm for the drive home.
Okay, that makes sense. So you don't have to reprogram the time every single morning and afternoon.
Exactly.
You just toggle between morning profile and evening profile.
You got it. And maybe P3 is your Saturday fishing trip profile that starts at 4 a.m. It saves you from constantly fiddling with the dial, which, let's be honest, nobody wants to do with frozen fingers.
All right, I'm sold on the slots. So I pick P1, I click the knob. The first thing it asks for is the start time.
Yeah, standard stuff. Turn the knob to the hour, click. Turn the minute, click.
But here's where the source points out a specific nuance that I think trips a lot of people up. In my head, if I schedule a meeting, I set a start time and an end time. But the Webasto doesn't work that way, does it?
No, and this is a key distinction. You do not set a stop time. You set a run duration.
So I'm not saying stop at 7:30. I'm saying run for 30 minutes. Why the difference? Is there a technical reason for that? Or are they just trying to be different?
It's a safety and battery-saving logic. If you set a stop time and you made a mistake, say you set it to stop 12 hours later instead of 30 minutes later, you would drain your battery flat. By forcing you to choose a duration, which is typically capped at 60 minutes or so, they ensure the heater shuts down relatively quickly, even if you forget about it.
So it forces you to think in terms of how long do I need rather than when will I get there?
That's it, exactly. It's protecting the user from their own math errors.
That is smart.
Yeah, and the source suggests 30 minutes is the standard setting for most vehicles. I mean, unless you're in the Arctic Circle, 30 minutes usually does the trick.
Okay, so let's simulate this. I've selected P1. I've set it to start at 7 a.m. I've set the duration for 30 minutes. I press the knob to confirm. I see the time is saved. I walk away.
You're going to be freezing tomorrow morning.
Wait, why? I saved it. I saw the numbers.
You did. You did everything right except the most critical step. This is the gotcha that the source spends a significant amount of time on.
Okay.
Saving the settings does not arm the system.
That feels incredibly counterintuitive. If I set an alarm on my phone, it's on. Why isn't this the same?
Because this isn't a phone, it's a little combustion engine inside your car. They require an intentional arming step. When you finish setting the time, you usually bounce back to the main menu or the program list. You have to navigate to that specific slot P1 and click Activate or check a box next to it.
You have to manually tick the box every time.
Yes, or at least you need to ensure that specific program is currently the active one. You need a visual confirmation.
Okay.
The guide says a small clock icon will appear on the main standby display.
So if the screen is dark, but I don't see that tiny clock icon in the corner.
The system is asleep. It doesn't matter what's stored in the P1 memory. P1 is just a dormant file until you execute it. It's like writing an email but never hitting send.
That is a huge takeaway. I can imagine so many people cursing their heater, thinking it's broken, calling customer service, when really they just missed the Activate checkbox.
It happens constantly. It's the #1 user error. The forum is just full of people saying, my heater is broken, and the first response is always, did you see the clock icon?
So the rule is, look for the icon. No icon, no heat.
Precisely. Visual confirmation is the only thing that matters.
Okay, let's move to troubleshooting. Let's say I'm the perfect user. I set P1, set the duration, I activated it, the little icon was there. But I come out the next morning, and it's freezing. The heater didn't run. The source has a troubleshooting section for this. What's usually the culprit?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to remember that the Webasto heater is a smart device, but it's a parasite.
A parasite? That doesn't sound very complimentary.
A helpful parasite. Think about it. It feeds off the host vehicle.
Right.
It needs fuel from the tank, and more importantly, it needs electricity from the battery to run its fan, its fuel pump, the glow plug.
It has a whole list of needs.
A hierarchy of needs.
Right.
And the #1 need is self-preservation of the vehicle.
So it checks the battery health.
Before it even attempts to fire up the burner, the control unit performs a voltage check.
Okay.
Cold weather naturally drops, battery voltage chemistry just slows down. If your battery's old, or if it's super cold and the voltage is below a certain threshold, the heater will refuse to start.
So it's making a choice. I can warm the cabin, or I can leave enough power to start the engine.
Exactly. It sacrifices your comfort to ensure you aren't stranded. If it ran for 30 minutes on a weak battery, you'd have a lovely warm car that wouldn't turn over.
You'd be warm, but you'd be going nowhere.
Right.
That is actually incredibly considerate for a machine. But it's frustrating if you don't know why it happened.
Yes, you think the heater's broken. In reality, the heater is working perfectly. It's your battery that's failing. It's a diagnostic tool in disguise.
Huh. So if your Webasto stops working on cold mornings, maybe buy a new battery.
It's the first thing to check.
What about the other resource? Fuel. I assume it uses the main tank.
Same logic applies. It feeds directly from the main fuel tank. However, the installation usually involves a standpipe. The fuel pickup pipe for the heater is usually installed slightly higher than the main engine's fuel pickup.
Oh, that's clever. It's a physical failsafe.
Exactly. Imagine a straw in a drink. The engine's straw goes all the way to the bottom. The heater straw stops, say, 2 inches from the bottom.
So if the fuel level drops...
If the fuel level drops below, say, the last quarter of the tank, the heater's pipe is now sucking air. It stops running so that it physically cannot drain your tank to zero.
So if I park my truck with the fuel light on, the Webasto isn't going to work.
Correct. And it shouldn't. You don't want to wake up to a warm truck with an empty tank.
Okay, so we have battery and fuel. The source also mentions physical blockages. Since this burns diesel or gasoline, it needs air, right?
It's basically a small jet engine. It needs an air intake and an exhaust. If you parked in a deep snowbank and plugged the exhaust pipe, or if you've been off-roading and packed the intake with mud, the system detects a blockage, usually through back pressure or overheating, and it shuts down immediately. It's to prevent a fire or, carbon monoxide buildup.
So if you're camping in deep snow, you need to actually clear the area around the heater exhaust.
Absolutely. Keep the breathing tubes clear.
Yeah.
It's like trying to run a marathon while breathing through a straw. If the straw gets plugged, you stop running.
The guide mentions error codes F01, F02. Are those useful for the average person?
They're useful to tell you what failed, but usually not how to fix it yourself.
Okay.
SO1 might be no start, which brings you back to fuel or air. SO2 might be flame out. If you see codes relating to the glow plug or the blower motor, that's usually a trip to a service center. But if the screen just stays dark or flashes, check your battery first.
Let's pivot to efficiency. We've got the thing running. We know how to set it. But the source had some interesting notes on best practices. My instinct, if it's 10 degrees below zero, is to set the timer for an hour and crank the temperature dial to max. Just to be safe. I want it tropical in there.
And the guide explicitly says that is a bad idea.
Why? Wouldn't max heat be better?
2 reasons. First, resources. Running it for an hour is just burning diesel for no reason. For a typical car or truck cabin, 20 to 30 minutes is the sweet spot.
Really? That's it?
That's enough time to de-ice the windows and get the air warm. Any more than that, and you're just heating the outdoors through the glass.
Okay, so 30 minutes max. What about the temperature setting?
This is the part people misunderstand about the digital climate control. The heater has an internal temperature sensor. It's smart.
Right.
If you set it to a reasonable temperature, say 21 degrees Celsius or 70 Fahrenheit, the heater runs at full power initially to get there.
Like a sprint.
Right. But once it hits that target, it throttles down. It slows the fan, reduces the fuel pump speed to just maintain that heat. That's the efficient mode.
And if I set it to max?
It never thinks it reaches the target. It just keeps running at full blast high consumption mode, creating maximum wear on the burner and maximum drain on the battery. You aren't actually getting warmer, you're just stressing the machine.
So it's about trusting the sensor.
Exactly. Set it for comfort, not for an oven.
Now, there was one feature mentioned that sounded like the ultimate convenience for people with chaotic lives. The remote control. How does that fit in with the timer?
This addresses the limitation of the P1, P2 slots. The timer is great for fixed schedules Monday through Friday, 8 a.m.
Right.
But let's say it's Saturday. You don't know when you're waking up. You don't know if you're going to the store at 10 a.m. or noon.
I definitely don't want to walk out to the car to program a slot for a random trip.
That is where the remote fob, often called the telestart, comes in. The source explains that the remote signal overrides the schedule. So you wake up, look out the window, see the snow, and decide, I'm leaving in 20 minutes.
Okay.
You point the fob, press the button, and it starts the cycle immediately.
It's on-demand automation.
Precisely. It gives you flexibility on top of the fixed schedule. The guide actually recommends a hybrid strategy. Use the timer for work, use the remote for play.
That sounds like the best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm.
The source also touched on some advanced installation contexts. We've been talking about the little screen on the dash, but some people might have this integrated into the car's main screen.
Yes, and this is getting more common in luxury vehicles. It's the difference between an aftermarket install and a factory install. If it's factory, the heater is likely connected to the vehicle's CAN bus.
We hear that term a lot, CAN bus. Can you simplify that for us?
Think of the CAN bus as the car's central nervous system. It's the network that lets the engine talk to the transmission, and the door locks talk to the alarm. If the Webasto is plugged into that nervous system, you can control it from the main infotainment screen, or even via a smartphone app.
But the guide notes a downside to this.
Complexity. If you have a standalone digital timer and it breaks, you buy a new timer for $100 and plug it in.
Easy.
If the CAN bus integration fails or you want to change how it works, you usually need a dealer with a laptop and proprietary software to reprogram the car's brain. You can't just hack that together in your driveway.
Right, so for the DIY crowd reading this forum, the standalone digital controller is actually more manageable.
Much more. It keeps the system separate. If the heater breaks, the car still works. If the car breaks, the heater might still work.
Before we wrap up, there was a mention of a factory reset. When do you need that?
That's the nuclear option. If you've been messing with schedules and P1 overlaps with P2 and the system is just acting weird or the screen is glitching, there's usually a reset option in the system menu. It wipes all the corrupted schedules and settings so you can start fresh.
It's the classic turn it off and on again.
Works for computers, works for heaters.
So, looking back at this deep dive, we've gone from freezing in the dark to having a warm, de-iced vehicle waiting for us. What's the big picture here?
I think the big takeaway is that the Webasto heater is a powerful tool, but it is not magic. It's entirely dependent on user input and preparation. It's about shifting the effort.
Shifting the effort.
Think about it. You can expend a massive amount of physical effort scraping ice at 6 a.m. You can stand there in the wind miserable.
All right.
Or you can expend a tiny amount of mental effort the night before to navigate a menu and check a box.
It's the difference between reactive misery and proactive comfort.
Precisely. And it also highlights the relationship between the heater and the vehicle. It's an ecosystem. You have to maintain the host vehicle, the battery, the fuel for the system to work. It reminds you that your car isn't just a sofa on wheels, it's a machine with needs.
I want to reiterate that activate step one last time because the source was so adamant about it. If you take nothing else away from this, finding the menu and setting the time is meaningless unless you back out and click activate.
Look for the icon. Burn that into your brain. If you don't see the little clock, you aren't programmed. Don't assume. Verify.
And here's a final thought for you to mull over.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about comfort, about us being warm, but the source touched on engine wear. When you use a heater like this, you aren't just spoiling yourself. You're pre-warming the engine block, the coolant, the oil.
That's a huge factor. Cold starts account for a massive percentage of engine wear.
Right. So by setting that 20-minute timer, you might actually be extending the life of your engine by years because you're eliminating those brutal freezing starts where metal grinds on metal. So the question is this heater a luxury item or is it actually a vital maintenance tool?
That is the provocative question. I would argue it's a financial investment in longevity that just happens to feel really, really good on a Tuesday morning.
I'll take it. Warmth and longevity. Thanks for listening to this deep dive into the Webasto timer. Go check your settings, look for that icon, and we will catch you on the next one.